All right, so picking up, sorry where we left off, on the last video. We're just finishing up the Lincoln Douglas debate. Hopefully you did watch that video. If you haven't watched it yet, that I put in the description of the last video. Make sure you do watch that before continuing on because it helps explain the Lincoln Douglas debates and how important they are to basically Lincoln's political future. So Lincoln will become a leader week after week. Both men, both Lincoln and Douglas, will speak nearly every day to very, very large crowds. These are anywhere from 10,000 to 15,000 people are going to show up to hear these two men speak. Newspapers will reprint their campaign speeches, and the more Northerners read Lincoln's words that he was saying during his speeches, the more they thought about the injustice of slavery. And so Lincoln is going to really start getting people to think about the whole issue of slavery and basically the moral values that go along with it and what we are doing that's kind of destroying our country. And in the end, though, Douglas will win the election by a very, very slim margin. And there's going to be several contributing factors that they talked about in that video that will lead to it. Those aren't super important for you to know. You just need to know that Lincoln did lose the election for Senate in 1858. However, Lincoln was now known throughout the entire country, which is going to be a really big deal coming up. And so 2 years later, the two rivals would again meet face to face, both seeking the office of president. And so, yeah, in 1860, things are going to get pretty heated between Douglas and Lincoln as they both now run for president. One is a Democrat and the other is a Republican. So, changing gears, getting off Lincoln for a little bit, we'll talk more about him over the next couple sections. We're going to talk about John Brown and how he's going to fight slavery. So, in the meantime, more bloodshed will inflame the divisions between the North and South. This time it's John Brown's fault. And so, in 1859, the radical abolitionist John Brown led a group of followers, including 5 African Americans, um, to the town of Harper's Ferry, Virginia. So once again, John Brown is a huge radical. He's way off to one side of the whole anti-slavery movement to the point where he's willing to kill people, both innocent and not, to try to get everybody on his side. So once they get to Harper's Ferry, Brown will raid a federal arsenal, and an arsenal is a weapons and ammunition warehouse. It's kind of like a little fort as well. And so he and his men will raid the arsenal. He thought that enslaved African Americans would join him there, and he planned to arm them and lead them in a revolt against the South. Now, there's going to be a couple of issues here with Brown's plan that we'll talk about in the next slide. And instead, troops under the command of Robert E. Lee, who we will be talking about a lot in the future, will kill all 10 raiders and capture Brown. So Brown will now be arrested by Robert E. Lee and will face trial. So a little bit more on the raid first before we get to the trial. Most people in both the North and South thought that Brown's plan to lead a slave revolt was insane. They thought this guy was absolutely nuts. First, there were very few enslaved African Americans in Harper's Ferry to join a revolt. So, yeah, obviously having a huge store of arms and ammunition is going to be important in that revolt. However, there's not many people there to actually join a slave revolt. So, not really great planning on his part there. Secondly, after seizing the arsenal, Brown did nothing further to encourage a slave revolt. So, once he and his men captured the arsenal, they had a little problem because they didn't do anything to actually get the slaves to rise up and join them in their cause, which kind of defeats the purpose of trying to have a revolt if you're not going to encourage it. And so, at his trial, though, Brown will seem perfectly sane and not act like an insane person at all. He'll sit quietly as the court found him guilty of murder and treason is actions taken against one's country. And before hearing his sentence, he would give a moving defense of his actions and show no emotion as he would be sentenced to death. So John Brown is found guilty and will be sentenced to death at his trial. Now, he's also going to become a symbol of the nation's division and kind of really just put another nail in the coffin of the whole thing just going to divide North and South. And so, because he conducted himself with such dignity during his trial, Brown will become a hero to many Northerners. He really didn't speak out of turn. He didn't go become outrageous or anything like that. He's just gonna do his thing. And some consider him to be a martyr because he's willing to give up his life for his beliefs. Um, And so people are going to look to him as an example and as a martyr. On the morning he was hung, church bells rang solemnly throughout the North. In the years to come, New Englanders would sing a popular song with the chorus, John Brown's body lies moldering in his grave, but his soul keeps marching on. And so that will become kind of a tribute to John Brown. And the South isn't going to be a big fan of it. And so later on, a poet will hear the song. People are singing about John Brown, and she'll be inspired to write the poem The Battle Hymn of the Republic, which will become a very popular Civil War song set to the same tune as the John Brown one. So the Battle Hymn of the Republic will be, I'll link a video to it in the description. It's kind of a, yeah, I guarantee you all have heard the song before. And so it's kind of moving. And um, the whole Battle Hymn of the Republic will kind of become the anthem that the Northern Army will play during the Civil War. And so that's going to be kind of the anthem of the North for the Civil War song that they'll really play. And troops will even sing it as they're marching to battle or marching between battles to different camps and things like that. So it will become a very, very popular song. And so to white Southerners, the Northern response to John Brown's death was outrageous. They could not believe that they were going to support somebody that tried to lead a slave revolt against the Southern way of life. And so people were singing the praises of a man who tried to lead a slave revolt, and that did not sit well with the Southerners. They did not like John Brown, and they didn't like the fact that Northerners liked him. And so many Southerners will become convinced that the North wanted to destroy slavery and the South along with it. And so now the nation will be poised for a very violent clash, which we will be talking about on Thursday. So, end of section two. When you guys finish this, please get on the book website and take the quiz for this section. It will be there. Also, please, if you haven't done so already, finish those other quizzes and make sure you do the Dred Scott assignment that was assigned yesterday on the book website as well. Sorry for the longer notes today, but we had relatively short notes yesterday, so that's why. And once again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you're not getting scores you want on those quizzes, please talk to me about it, and hopefully we can figure out what's going on and how to help you do better.